like you'd run those into your Princess Soya or Empress Soya, run those back out, and then you can get the audio from 3.4, which is this is the 3.4 in. So it went out to Zoya, right? Out to Zoya. And then this is audio from, right? And then it would then come out the master, right? So that's how you would do it. And yeah, you just need an extra set of outs and an extra set of ins, right? So you need two sets of outs, one's for your monitors, and then another one to go out to the Zoya, and then you need a set of ins to come in from the Zoya. But that's really all you need. Yeah, this is still going fine. No one's watching now, so maybe it was him. Awesome. I shouldn't need that. Okay, back to the faceplant. What is... I'll turn this off. Because in 3.4, my analog 3.4s are going. Got it. So check it. These guys in 3.4. Going somewhere. But it doesn't say it is. Well, easy enough solution. Just turn the volume on that down, but I didn't know that was sending in. Yes, that must be analog 1 too, even though it says 3.4 on here. I swear that was this 3.4. Oh no, I got it. Ha! It was from this guy here. No wonder, that makes way more sense. Cool. Now I can get my 3.4, and yeah, this, if I wanted, this would go here or here. Let's run 3.4. Yeah. But then that's not going to you guys, but I don't need that. The point is, it works. Cool. So I don't like these. I do I like the idea of a saxophone. One of the things that I got, man, they need to fix this. Okay, is the Philharmonic. Oh, there's no saxophone. Oh, no, there is. Yeah, there's no saxophone in an orchestra temporarily. Empty, empty, empty. What? It's not. Philharmonic. Oh, because they're MP3s. No shit, I'm gonna need to batch convert this whole thing. No shit. Why are these MP3s? I bet you I can get this Philharmonic thing. Because this is like free and open to the public. I bet you can get it in non-MP3s. Let's see what the bitrate is. 96 kilobits per second. 96K. This is worthless. Okay. Well, I will deal with that at another date. Let's get some other kind of saxophone that's going to work. Oh my god, I hate that. Tonal shots. I'm just gonna go with this instead. Cool. That's pretty good. Some sort of saturator. Distortion. How distorted is this? Or do I saturate? That's what I want. Some reverb. Okay. Then I gotta do something about these harmonics. Carvey Q. I really like Carvey Q. You just kind of draw it in, unless that's the slicey Q, because I get those backwards. Yeah, this one. Here we go. Cool, it's not too bad. Compression. Maybe let's ensemble this before. Now let's do some cool stuff with this. So let's go envelope, and we're just gonna do this little kind of thing. Do I have my chat window still? I do not have my chat window because they disabled my chat. Hold on, I'm coming for you guys if any of you are here. Go live dashboard. Oh, dude, there are people here. Hi, sorry, this like died for a second, and now I am back. So I'm sorry, I've been ignoring you. This VLC could convert it pretty quickly, I would imagine, if you need to. Only getting you at 144p, but I'm turn stick with it, haha. Making like hip hop R&B, is this plugin good for such beats? Hey mate, which plugin? Joram, which plugin? Are you talking about Faceplant? I mean, like, I do not necessarily recommend Faceplant for people who don't really know synthesis because there's not a lot of patches out there yet, but it is, in my mind, just about the best synth out there. So, like, if I was making hip hop, I would not necessarily use this because you don't need super aggressive bass sounds, right? You need really good subs, which just isn't the best way to get subs. I just did a video that I released today actually on doing excellent subs, and you can do that all for free. And then, like, you know, your drums, you're not going to do drums in this, right? Drums, mostly it's audio editing and like compression and EQing and like things like that to get your drums nice and tight. I mean, Faceplant's amazing, don't get me wrong, but like if I was just making hip hop and I was going to get one VST, it would probably be Omnisphere, because you can do all your sounds and they all sound awesome in Omnisphere. All your like bells and your like weird leads there. Or I would also get Serum probably, just because there's so many patches out there. You wouldn't need to like know, and it's really good, but it's just there's not the community of support for Faceplant yet. Well, I use it for like sampler. No, Faceplant's so good. Don't get me wrong. Faceplant is going to take over the world in the next year, right? People are gonna use Serum way less and use Faceplant way more over the course of the next year, and it's like a surging tide. And I'm just trying to get in advance of that and teach people how to use it, put together some sample packs, things like that. But if you aren't like big into synthesis, a modular environment like Faceplant might be overwhelming, and it's not really going to achieve what you want. Now, like I said, Omnisphere, or another thing like it is like Nexus. And then there's like, I mean, there's like a lot of ways to go about it, but you want a lot of access to real instruments, and then like kind of simple synth sounds, if that makes sense. And it's not so much the sounds as how you use them, but a lot of those you can do with sampled one shots. Like that's another thing you can really do in hip hop and get away with it, is just take a one shot sound of anything, right? Like tonal or even semitonal, like, and then put it in a sampler and make like leads with that. But the reason I like Omnisphere is because it's got like tens of thousands of patches that all sound awesome, right? So right, so you could easily make some like trappy kind of thing like this, and just hopefully I don't have too much latency that I actually play on time. But you could be like, oh, okay. Right, and then you could just like take that, like throw some. I'm just gonna grab a drum loop really quick so I don't have to do any writing. We're at like 120. Let's actually go a little bit slower, like 110. I'm sure any of these will be sufficient. No, not that one. That one sucks. GoPro's okay. Let's fix the timing on this. And then, but the trick is the subs. Alright, so I just did the subs today. I gave this away in a video that I just released today if you didn't see it. But if we grab this sub designer, we want the ALS one. I think I called sub designer native. I think this is what I want. It honestly doesn't matter. I swear I grabbed these as ALSs though for the community, because otherwise the XY pads don't work if you don't do it that way. Then you just need brutal subs. I'm gonna say that we're in C sharp. Yeah. Let's shorten this. Yeah. Cool. Turn this shit off. Something like that. I mean, it really doesn't matter. But then you can start manipulating it from there. But once you have like good subs and you have functional drums, like everything in Omnisphere really, really works. And there's like a ton of stuff. They have like the best pianos, but like a lot of it is like what you do with it afterwards, right? Like, like Shaper Box is one of the things I use all the time. But people will talk about Halftime. That's by Cable Guys, or talk about Time Shaper or Gross Beat or stuff like that to do the little scratches and stuff. So you can throw like a Shaper Box on it and do like weird like scratches and stuff. And then you can like mix those in, maybe instead of every bar, like put that at the end of like 4 bars and make this like a little bit tighter. And we could do like a little steppy thing. Like here, or like a step. How do there's like a way to just do steps, and I forget what it is in this one. Maybe I can do it this way. Yeah, there's like a way to draw in steps, and I forget what it is. But yeah. Yeah, and so you just got to kind of start creating musical things, which these are not, and kind of learn about them. But you'll see some of the, like, these are like kind of scratch things. You're like, right, slowing it down and then coming back up. I don't know. That's like generally how I approach writing hip hop. Is I'll come up with parts and then make sure that those parts are interesting, because you kind of want to like engage in minimalism, right? Not have too much going on, such that the where the fuck did my chat window go? That only appears in smaller speakers when the kick is hitting it this hard. Oh, let me pop this out again. Why did that go away? I gotta catch up. It's just weird how sound can have this effect. Its hit is overwhelming. I know, right? But when listening it on small speakers, I understand you can't have this not translate to smaller speakers on headphones. Yeah, so I'm not sure what you mean by a distorted resonance, but partly like it might be because I'm blasting it so hard at full scale in this. No, that's probably not it, because I'm only sending that out like -12. And it, like, I don't know, it sounds fine on like the headphones I work with, and then the tracks that I use them in, like, I don't like listen on earbuds while I'm doing my sound design and stuff like that, but I listen to all the tracks that end up with those kicks and stuff in my earbuds and everything, and it sounds fine. So maybe it's just that by the time it's in a complete mix, like my philosophy on kicks is like, by the time your kick is in a complete full song, right? Unless that song is like you're using a ton of sidechain compression, it's really designed for the kick to be kind of bare by itself. Usually there's some other things that are going to compromise the kickiness of the kick, and you can fix that with really deep sidechain compression, but then it always sounds awkward to me. Right? It always sounds awkward, like that, like the kick hits and your whole track disappears and it sucks back in, and no matter how short of an attack time you make, it just feels weird. And so I don't sidechain compress all the way. I sidechain compress as much as I need, but the point is that you lose the impact of your kick. So having too much, like having too heavy of a kick, almost makes your kick in a denser mix be like medium strength, like you would want it, or something. And if you really need your kick to slam, then you need the sidechain compression to be really deep. Like if you're making dubstep or something, yeah, definitely sidechain compress your kick all the way to everything, like super deep. Maybe even have some look ahead, and well, look ahead will do it, but it's even better to have an invert, like a track delay thing on a click track, so you can get the sidechain compression to happen a couple milliseconds before your kick drum hits. But if you do that, like, you'll fucking, slam, but that's only if you really want that. So in terms of balancing it, to me, it's actually partly how it ends up in a song, right? And I'm thinking, and I'll change it. Sometimes I'll change my kick last minute because it's just not working anymore. But what's its context in the song, and planning on having it more thumpy and powerful than you need for like for how it would sound a la carte, like by itself, right? So that when it's in the mix, that it will have power, because it's going to lose a little bit, just because of the other frequencies that are going on. So I don't know about smaller speakers. Like I listen to it on my laptop speakers and it loses the bottom, but it sounds okay. Yeah, I guess I just don't really know how to listen to, or sorry, to answer that question. Maybe try it on different speakers, but I listen on a bunch of speakers, the finished product, and only sometimes do I not like it. Like sometimes the attack will end up too clicky, but very rarely. That's another thing I find is that when I listen to my kicks or like kicks in general a la carte, is I don't like having a super 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 fast attack such that it's like a clicky tick, kind of like a right. Like I like a little bit of a shorter attack that's like 5 milliseconds to 10 milliseconds long before it reaches full scale. But in a full mix, I find that I definitely prefer that super fast attack, and that I don't hear that tick so much that it just feels like the kick is on setting. So yeah, I definitely part of it is learning to understand how it's going to sound in your song as opposed to how it sounds by itself. And that's why I've been approaching it this way. Really, I'm trying to get it to sound as good as an end product and also have enough resistance to the compression and saturation and other things that people add along their signal chains, such that if they want to add some drive, like clipper drive or whatever, that it's not going to distort too quickly, but it's still going to be powerful. And honestly, like a lot of that has to do with keeping the harmonics through the tail, which you can only do with revolume enveloping it. Yeah, like after you shape the wave harmonics. But the other thing is this freaking Cable Guy's Wave Shaper is, in my opinion, like the greatest plugin, because the shapes are really musical. Like they're musical curves. They're not jagged edges unless you want them to be. Oops. Right, they're like not jagged edges unless you want them to be, which give harsh sounds. They're these really curved out sine waves, and you can just take a sine wave and bend it into the shape you're looking for. Right. So, it's kind of like instead of worrying about saturating or whatever, you just make the shape you want. Right. And for things that are trying to push air and kicks and stuff, it's like, you just want this kind of like this big bucket, or so to speak. You draw air in and then you slam the air out. And if you have steep sides on that, it'll slam the air out really hard. And when you have as much control as you do with that wave shaper, you can really get in there and bend it in such a way as to get the harmonics you want and not get the harmonics you don't want. Like these little buzzes that start sounding weird, you can just avoid those, and or like draw them into taste. So like maybe 2 pixels to the left, it's going to be too buzzy, and 2 more pixels to the right. And a lot of that's going to be because of the angle that you're coming out from here. Once you get too steep there, you'll find that it buzzes a little bit too much. Hello. Hey, how are you? I was just talking about this guy. Actually, let's do it for reals. Yeah, and so this is a really low sub. Like most systems. Oh, thank you. Yeah, those are pretty good. I've got like a lot of thoughts on workflow that I could go on and on with. It's kind of, and I learned a lot of it from Il Gates and his producer dojo and his philosophies on workflow. And he's got a bunch of stuff on the philosophical things and other stuff. I try not to teach what he teaches because that's how he earns his living. I'm not like trying to be a competitor so much and just trying to, because I run a lot of tests on my own, and like, he doesn't quite think about subs the way I do. But I don't think he has thought about some of the wave physics, and he doesn't use this like wave shaper tool. I don't know. So I try and contribute stuff that he doesn't, because he contributes so much. But he's like done videos on everything. So at the same time, it's like hard to like it's like I'm not going to do videos on sub bass or something. Like it's a big subject. But I highly recommend getting his weekly download, because he's got like so much stuff on workflow and like the philosophy necessary to enter flow states and like all this stuff. And it's like $5 a week. So I try and recommend that to as many people as I can, because it's the best like repository of knowledge from legitimate genius professional producers, right? And when you go through hundreds of hours of training by a single producer, you go really deep and you cover all the bases, as opposed to 100 hours of training from 100 different producers. They're going to cover the same material over and over. Digital dirt until lately. Yeah, so Sweeter Than Anything. This is one of the reasons I use this wave shaper as opposed to and I hear what you're saying about the oversampling. However, one of the reasons I've been using this guy is because, like, I find a lot of the bad sounding stuff comes, like I said, like, so most wave shapers, like, okay, let's go like the Ableton wave shaper kind of sucks. It's like wave shaper mode on the saturator, right? The Serum wave shaper, Serum has a wave shaper in here, which is it's this one. But you can kind of draw curves in it a little bit, but all your points are these like sharp things. So you got to be careful of any sharp edges, because even one sharp edge is like a saw wave all of a sudden, right? It's like a right angled instantaneous turn that things in nature cannot actually reproduce, right? You can't turn instantaneously because of momentum and stuff, right? So anytime you have jagged edges in your waves, it's fundamentally impossible to reproduce. Like a saw wave, a square wave, you can't reproduce those. And at some point, there's like these things that happen on okay, I might lose Ableton, but I'm not going to lose you guys. It's not a big deal if you have smoother curves, right? You're not like, so aliasing, you got to think about, okay, we've got all these dots, so to speak, and if we remove dots, right, that's only going to cause problems when we have a lot of stuff going crazy around where these dots would be. By name, I mean it's kind of an app. Oh yeah, that's the live enhancement suite. The last live enhancement. I'm about to do a video on that too. And then you got to customize the menus, right? But you double right click and then you can customize these menus. So I made these menus, but yeah, it's so necessary. It's like the all right, live enhancement suite. This, it's if you know Dylan Tallchief, him and Subvert put this together. But this is the greatest thing. It's like Ableton on steroids. But yeah, what I was saying about the Sweeter Than Anything, what I was saying about this wave shaper is because the curves are so smooth, you can start with smooth, well, at least with subs and stuff where you want more sine-like waves. If you have like aggressive bass sounds and stuff, you might not notice the aliasing because it's dirty anyway. But the other thing about the oversampling is, like, if you start oversampled and then, well, the problem is the downsampling at the end of the oversampling. And so, you know, if you're trying to add extra folds in your waves and stuff like that, and then you downsample, like, I guess what I'm saying is by oversampling, you're not giving yourself a lot of benefit when you're doing simple types of saturation, if that makes sense, right? Because you're not really adding extra bends or extra folds or other things in a wave that, like, you're ultimately going to want to be able to reproduce honestly at high frequencies, right? And then when you downsample, all, like you said, the aliasing, all that can disappear, more or less. it's a little bit trickier than that. But when you're doing like if I'm doing things like where it folds back and forth every time it goes over this, even if it's at 20,000 hertz or something, where it's going back and forth between here. Now, as it's doing that, it's folding several times. And now I've added in hertz that are like 60,000, 70,000, like those sorts of things. And if these occur at kind of random places, right? Random in the sense of you've got like you said, like 192, you'll be able to get basically all the dots. But if you have a lower sample rate and you've added all these extra folds, maybe just you happen to, this fold up here happens to be on one sample, right? Even though on average this isn't going on, you're going to get a lot of like really kind of weird data in there because of the missing dots, right? Because now you're just being like, oh, just grab this one, just grab that one. You're not getting the full curve of this, right, each time. But like I said, if you're not introducing anything like that, if you never fold back on yourself, this is still what you could consider a monotonic function, right? Constantly increasing function. And so it's just repositioning all these samples, and it's not going to need extra oversampling data to capture anything new, because all it is literally skewing all the samples, but the relationship is fine. And then the sample interpretation between them, like the dot interpretation between them, the intersample stuff in between them, is going to get curved honestly too. The existing harmonics themselves get new harmonics of their own. Yeah. They go above what your regular, so being able to filter them. Yeah, for sure. But a square wave itself, like even just a square wave, has too many harmonics, right? So let's here. I was actually going to show this a second ago, and then Ableton crashed. So let me do this really quick. But if we grab Serum, and we have a square wave in Serum, right? And then we grab something like Signalizer, which is very accurate and free. If you don't have Signalizer yet, get it, because it's free and it's the best oscilloscope out there. Come on. Cool. So let's turn this down. Okay, so we zoom in here. This is the top of our square wave, right? But look at all this fucking jiggle up here. All of that stuff here, I'm going to do a lower frequency. It'll be a little bit easier to. And let me also turn that off. Cool. So it's doing this jiggle thing up on the corners. And that's because of what you were saying, right? Yeah. So that's what you were saying, is if we had infinite harmonics, right, we would not get these jiggles because we would have enough harmonics to produce a perfect square. But it requires an infinite amount of harmonics because you need to like instantaneously go from all the way up to all the way down and stuff. And so as you're connecting sample by sample, so we can look at the individual samples, right? A proper square wave won't even have samples that are above there, but then Serum does. I think most of these do because of the way that they produce them with, but they'll actually, like, how do I say it? It's like all of this stuff would have been like true peak kind of stuff, right? But then since we're working in, how do I say this? Like, since we're not working at an infinite sample rate, right, then we actually get samples as we're trying to produce this square, like these folding backs on the corners. That's one of the reasons why I recommend clipping. Or actually, I don't recommend using square waves at all, is because they have these problems. That's why I recommend starting with a sine wave, right, and then using the wave shaper, because then that actually mathematically pushes the waves up. And then if you Here, let's put operator here and just show you operator. And let's grab this wave shaper. But you can make sure that the corners can be rounded just enough for the waves to actually make it there. So I don't like square waves. Right, so we start with a sine wave. Signalizer is after. And let's go into this at 0. Cool. And so now as we have something like this, right, these guys do not have that problem, right? They don't have any jiggles at all. And you can imagine if you were an actual speaker cone, you could trace out that path. You wouldn't have to jiggle because it's your rounding. I won't have to transform into a Super Saiyan to defeat you. Yes. What? Art Stanton? I am the prince of all Saiyajin. Man. Final Flash. Oh man. This is like Dragon Ball shit now. Does that make sense? So it's like the waves can go around here. And I know what you were saying about the harmonics, but you could do something like this without an infinite amount of energy. Right, which means you could do something like this without an infinite amount of harmonics, if that makes sense. But you would also need a lot less. And so in terms of the anti-aliasing, the harmonics that you would need that are above the audible range are going to have a lot less of an impact. And I think that's also why you'll notice that your subs will break down. Like your subs will break down once you get like too far out there. It starts buzzing, and I think that's those true peaks doing that jiggle. No, we're not hearing a rounded square. When we have, well, some of the analog synthesizers I think are fairly rounded. But the digital squares we get like all over the place have that in it. The corners, and those corners are those jiggly corners, and that's from not being rounded. But those exist all over the place on my body. Oh man, I'm getting destroyed in a Super Saiyan battle right now, and I can't even fight back. What frequency are we at? Signalize spectrum. Yeah. Yeah, so anyways, it's like you can hear the smoothness of it, and you can hear at some point it's like that rounding across the corner is just like too much for it. It's like right there as it starts that buzz. Yeah, this is about as smooth of subs as you can get that are also going to really push air the way that you want to. If you turn up like the room in your speakers, yeah, like my whole house is just like shaking. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that. But yeah, the other thing to note, like I said, is you could imagine where is that? This guy, the Linkazos or whatever, allegedly this is how like DACs, the same kind of thing that the DACs are doing, right? So see how it's kind of like weird, it like jiggles like that. But I guess like that's like essentially what we actually get out of our speakers, And so, but you can, it's not like jiggling up past it and back and all that. It's still like just smoothly going along it. I don't know where the Dragon Balls are. Like, it's not like I'm saying I'm not in the Dragon Ball universe. I'm just saying I'm like one of those side characters that you never encounter, who's just like not even invested in the Dragon Balls. And like, it's, I'm a musician first and foremost. I am a super like hero, but my superpower is all on ball music. No, it is. I'm trying to think about a way that I can demonstrate that. Like, I know what you're saying, sweeter than anything. I learned this from like a really nerdy scientific video where they used analog like oscilloscopes and gear. It's like it's like an hour-long engineering tutorial for like PhD students, and they were talking about because like it's like the in order to go infinitely fast up, stop instantly, start moving, or start not moving for the duration of the peak of the waveform, and then instantaneously teleport down. You need an infinite amount of energy, which is why you would need an infinite number of harmonics, right? You'd have an infinite number of harmonics reinforcing each other so that you could go infinitely fast. As you lose that, and you can see something. So let's start with a square. This square is not the best square, but it's a square. And let's turn off the wave shaper. There we go. So that was the old ones going by. So this is still here. You can shave those off, but these are still the high harmonics, and then you're going to get bent over to the side. But that's just how like it's like Taylor series. If you remember Taylor series from math, it's like the sine of 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x, etc. If you truncate that, then you get another function that's not a square, but what it looks like is this up there, right? Yeah, so we can actually let me grab the All right, so it's not jiggling anymore. Actually, there's a way to get this to lock on. If we do trigger mode spectral, then I won't have to freeze it anymore. There we go. All right, if that makes sense. Let me do a double style here. And then we got to make sure this doesn't go above 0. But this will happen with every... Yeah, see that bit right there? Okay, now imagine that you keep doing that and you squeeze that in and squeeze that in and squeeze that in. Now, if you squeeze it in infinitely far because you have infinite number of harmonics, that top peak disappears. Does that make sense? All right, so let's look at that again. So we're squeezing it in, we're squeezing it in, we're squeezing it in. right? And then we could make that tip infinitely short. And if it's infinitely short, then it doesn't happen. Right, yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, I'm not arguing with you anything there. I'm just trying to explain why it makes sense to me. Right. Um and that the jiggles though, like it's almost more remarkable to not have the jiggles than to have the jiggles. Right? Cuz you're like jiggling around the middle part and you're trying to get this middle part to be more consistent and more consistent. Well, no, they wouldn't be up audibly loud because you wouldn't be able to hear the harmonics above that. So it's going to sound the same. That's why it doesn't matter so much, right? Because we don't have hearing that goes up to those levels, right? Like we can't hear above 20,000 hertz. Anyway, the problem with the aliasing isn't about what it does to the frequencies above 20,000. It's the fold back problems of what would have led to those waves like in the lower frequencies, right? You'll find problems that happen in lower frequencies because of the interpretation from the subtracted dots and the connected dots. It's like to go from here to there or something, right? Well, maybe you would have had to go here and then there, but then you just assume no, you went flat, and so you must be like this bigger lower wave, right? And so the fact that you didn't have that upper information sort of pointed out that there was this lower information. Right. And what I'm saying with wave shapers in particular, the reason it actually doesn't even cause a problem is because it's just changing the math on this. It's just bending it and it's not adding any extra folds. And since it doesn't add any extra folds, it's not going to have any, there's nothing, if these are the two dots and you add in a new dot, you're not going to have anything that happens in between the two old dots that you're going to get from oversampling when you're just bending the wave in such a fashion like this. Now, that's no longer true if you fold the wave back on in itself at all, because then you're adding higher frequency waves that might get picked up by that oversampling, and then you could start feeding it false information when you don't have that data, right? And you're right, you're not doing oversampling, right? So you're introducing these extra folds that might cause fold back harmonics theoretically. But I always just look at the outgoing waves and make sure that they're intact and looking and sounding like I want. Sine partials. Yeah. Well, I when I do this, I'm very careful. I never send any signal that goes above 0 to it. I send the signal goes from 0, 0. I send exactly a 0 signal into this, and I start with a sine wave. Actually, if you want to get what you see, you would start with a triangle wave. And then what you would see is exactly what you get out. I just start with a sine wave because it works better. But in this case, if we used M oscilloscope, which is free, and you guys should get it because it's just like, oh, here's your wave. All right, turn on the wave shaper, and now we'll get exactly what we see. And whereas if we use a sine wave, it'll be more rounded and bent. Right. Right. Hopefully you can see. And it's just because like a triangle, it's like coming in, right, 1-to-1, right? It's like it's going up smoothly here. And so it's going up smoothly here. right? Whereas a sine wave, it kind of comes in faster and then it bends a little bit, and so this is not evenly represented. But it's pretty close because like a sine wave and a triangle wave are basically the same thing. But if I did like a square wave in here, it might be a little bit more obvious. Right. But perhaps the most obvious way to do it would be like, what you see is what you get. See a triangle, we have a triangle, right? We have a triangle going up and down, right? So if we did like something like this, oops. Right, whereas a sine wave would look like this. So if you really want to get what you draw in there, you can actually just put in yeah, I use emososcope for viewing a single waveform, though you can do that with this. If you put this on cycles and you put it to one cycle, let me zoom all the way out here. Right, it's similar, but obviously the emososcope's just kind of a little bit better for that. And so I like this signalizer, which is also free. All of these three things are free. All right, that's the first thing worth noting is all these things are free. And like to me, they're all indispensable for like everything. But yeah, so you can do it in cycles and be like, oh, I want like more cycles. See, it's like instant sub as soon as I put in this hump here, right? Because this is what's going to allow it to push air. Right, before I did that, it's not even a sub, really. I mean, it is, it's just not a very good one. At home, where is this guy? Or this, look. This won't hardly push air. But yeah, I just released a video on that today if you guys haven't seen it. So it's like you're adding in these quick little saw waves. So you're adding in like these saw wave harmonics, but it's these little, it's like a pulse saw wave on top of this like sub. And then we've got like square elements in there, and you can hear all these harmonics. Right, if you hold shift, you can like get it on the grid. You can just make it even better. Oops. Like better as in like more aligned. Like these square waves and stuff. That's pretty brutal. And then I would like LFO this to the volume so that it jiggles around that top part just a little bit. Oops. Where the fuck am I? LFO, not to the pitch. You could do it to the pitch too, and then, you know. Also, I found out that this on high mode, this set like 72, or in this case, it's probably gonna be 60, is like audio rate. sawed down, isn't it? Yeah, pretty brutal. Just as a place to start, and it's just like a sub, you know, it'll push energy reliably. I freaking love it. And you can see it. It's like, yeah, it fucks with you some sounds up here, but then when it goes to actually shove air at you, it just slams it at you, you know? It's cool. Bite. I'll call this sub bite. And we shall go to my library of where is my sub bite? There we go. These are not necessary. Cool. Yeah, this is what I put on my kick bottoms. It's like still pretty similar, but it's Okay, what's next? Oh yeah, I forgot I had made this hip hop beat. Like how this sounds like shit now. And it's loud. I probably wrecked these subs too. But this Ableton crashed, and so I lost the preset that it was using. Got it. Because it was going through that wave shaper. Nice. Is this sub still subbing? It is. And then right, my little check. Yeah, my little like 30-second written hip hop beat that I put together. But all you really need is good subs and some trippy thing, and then some random shit. I mean, like, I exaggerate, but like I write hip hop beats to like get as like a speed exercise usually, and I still end up making pretty good ones. Sometimes they turn into songs, but it's like at least trap beats are like so cookie cutter in certain ways that even when you get creative, it's still like, oh, you need like hi-hats of a certain variety, and you need subs probably as your like just big 808s kind of as your primary bass, and then some higher based kind of melody thing, and then space for the rapper, right? So and I lost my preset in phase plant, which is the thing I actually cared about. Yeah, Ableton crashes. I don't know what to say about that. It crashes a lot. What do I listen to? Probably a lot. I mean, like, I listen to a lot of electronic music, obviously. I still do, but I grew up listening, like, my first music when I was in like third grade and stuff was like classical, and I don't know, I didn't really like. I liked indie rock, but I never liked rock or anything rock and roll like very much. I don't know, except for like Queen, like David Bowie, and like Prince, and like there's some fucking rad people, but HKE telepath? No, I haven't. And that's the other thing is like nowadays I spend unfortunately little time listening to other people's music and hunting out music. Like I don't play other people's music in my sets, and I spend so much time working on my own music and revising my own music that like I end up spending so little time out there hunting for other people's music that I usually let my friends play what they play. They expose me to all sorts of stuff, but that's like how I get at new music is by what my friends listen to. And I almost never like I'm like digging through Spotify these days, which I feel bad about because like here I am like putting together all this stuff and hoping people are going to do exactly that. I've been doing these shitty masters. Well, they're sort of shitty. They're not too bad. I'm just going to delete all of it. I do need this guy. This is my link to you. I've been doing these shitty masters. I mean, they're not actually shitty, but they're like I did this mixing and mastering course with Bass Nectar's mix engineer Seth Drake, who teaches at the Producer Dojo that I'm a part of, and like my mix game's just been so transformed as a result. So like none of my old tracks sound anything like my new tracks, and so I've been taking the old masters and fixing them so that they don't sound shitty. Okay, this one is a bootleg and I can never release it, and they might take down this video as a result of me even having this in here. But I'm gonna go ahead and play it now because I don't get to play this to anyone except for live because it's a bootleg and Azalea Banks is kind of a psychopath. Otherwise I'd just reach out to her. But yeah, this is a good one.
I just wanna sip that punch with your peeps and sit in that lunch if you're treating. Kick it with your bitch who come from Parisian. She know where to get mine from in the season. Now she wanna lick my plum in the evening and fit that tongue to deepen. I guess that can't get any in. I guess that can't get any in. I was in the 212 on the uptown, hey nigga, you know what's up or don't you? Word of who made ya? I'm a rude bitch, nigga, what are you made up of? I'ma eat your food up, boo, I could bust your eight, I'ma do one too, fuck it, gun do. When you do make bucks, I'ma look right, nigga, bet you do want to, fuck I'm like you do want to, come, you get discovered, I'm a 2-1 deuce cock, I'm licking in the water by the blue bayou, caught the warm goose, Amy do-rag too, son. Nigga, you're Kool-Aid dude, plus your bitch might lick it, wonder who let you come to 1-2, what you do to crew, son? Fuck are you into, huh? Niggas better run. You could get shot, homie, if you want to. Put your guns up. Tell your crew don't front. I'm a hoodlum, nigga. You mean you were 2 once. Bitch, I'm about to live up to. I'm the one to pay. I'm the new shit, boo. Young Rapunzel. Oh, are you bitch, new lunch? I'ma ruin you, cunt.
Hey yo, I heard you riding with the same telling all the man saying you grinding, but you ain't going nowhere.
Why procrastinate, girl? You got a lot, but you just waste all using. They'll forget your name soon, and will nobody be doing but yourself. What you gonna do when I appear? When I premiere, bitch, to end up your life in here. This shit been mine. What you gonna do when I appear? When I 212 with the fifth cock niggas, the 212. Fuck you, gun you. When you do sprayed up, bet this bitch won't hit him. Bet you won't do much. See, even if you do want to bust, you bitch, you get your cut and touch your crew up to pop. You playing with your butter like you do, won't you cock the gun too? Where you do eat poom, hun? I'm fucking with your cutie cue. What's your dick like, homie? What are you into? What's the run, dude? Where do you wake up? Tell you bitch, keep hating. I'm a new one too, huh? See, I remember you when you were the young new face. Figured you like to slumber, don't you? Now you big up too, hun. I'ma ruin you, cunt. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when I up here? When I prepare? Bitch, the end of the lights on air. This shit been mine, mine. What you gonna do when I up here? When I prepare? Bitch, the end of the lights on air. This shit been mine, mine. What you do? What you want to do when I
Nice. Yeah, that's a fun one. But yeah, I can't release that ever because it's like a bootleg. But yeah, it's a fun one. But I don't know, like this one will be a good one. Let's see if I can even use this. I might need to redo this entirely. I've started like mixing way louder, as you can tell, but it doesn't sound bad. This is about 0.1, right? No? Anyway. Yeah, no, that one is ready basically. Like I said, see this little spike here at 16.5 thousand or so. So I would like probably should find that. That's not too bad. This is like 10 decibel spike. If it was closer to like 20, I would definitely need to, because on a high system that'll like kill people's ears. This isn't too bad. And also this is not like, this could easily be as flat as this. Right. So it's like, this is kind of a slightly darker song in some senses anyway. So it's like, you know, you'll notice like the pitch of this whole thing. That's pretty good too. Like I can show you my mastering chain, but like, I mean, it's a matter of having clean subs. It's a matter of having the transient response. Yeah, that one I started as a scary movie trailer, because I don't know. I've like dabbled in writing music for placement, but it's kind of like the way the state of music right like for placement right now is, if you're not getting like custom jobs, you're just writing for libraries. It's kind of a lot of work for not like a big return. Like I'd totally be open to scoring a film or a game or anything like that. That's kind of why I stopped doing that kind of stuff as much. But started a scary movie trailer basically. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna make a trap remix kind of thing out of it. It's like an orchestral trap remix out of it. So I did, and it turned out so brutal. I love it. This one's also suspect. This one I wrote for my ex-girlfriend. We're still besties, but she's, in my opinion, like the hottest woman on this planet. About and I wrote this about her and how like freaking much of a badass she is. Yeah, I've been well, let me show you. So when I have been mastering this stuff, this is what I'm doing. So I use this to tame resonances. This is kind of like soothe or whatever. Here, this is already mastered, so it's kind of weird that I'm going to be doing this, but I just want you to see. So you got to tame resonances, and oftentimes, like I'll get the bad ones by hand if they're easy, but then this I use to get the rest of them. Like I would not do this, but this is a spectral dynamics processor. But what I do is I'll put this closer to a slope of 5. 4.5 is pretty classic, like standard for electronic music. 5 is a little bit darker, but I'll put it to 5 or just over, also to more tame the high frequencies. And one of the nice things about this is you can redraw on the curves. So it's like if you really want to tame the high frequencies and you want to avoid your bass, I'll often draw on a curve more like this to keep my subs kind of more where I want them. Because like Fletcher Munson style, you know, you need more bass anyway. And that'll sort of protect the ears of my listeners. Yeah, I hear you. So yeah, I'll do some stuff, and then this is the best limiter on the planet. So right, and it's got this transient shaper thing, like transient, like multi-band. This is 26 band transient shaper and clipper. And it apparently just clips the transients, from what I understand. That kind of makes sense because the transients are the loud parts. But anyways, it puts out super clean and awesome and loud, and it's really configurable. Like I'll oftentimes reduce the transient response, like emphasis on these, like this is all 10,000 hertz and above, because oftentimes it just gets to be a lot, right? Like these like super high frequencies stabbing at you. And then most of your good transients are all like down here. So oftentimes I'll have my curves be around here. Sometimes this can help around like the area where you get presence. If you want to make your mix more forward in people's faces, then like having a little bit here. And then another thing is you can actually get vocals to pop better with the stuff around the vocal range, because it'll pick up the transients of the vocals, and it'll make the articulations of the vocals like nicer too. So it's really good in terms of what it can achieve. Yeah, well, I'm gonna listen to this and see if I have not ruined, or if I can still play it. Yeah, that's a good one. Except for it's like I really got to go back and actually do a new mix down and get all it to be a little bit more cohesive. That would get those basses sounding way better, like the all the basses on top, and then get them more cohesive. The sub, oh, it sounds so good. But that's gonna be like 4 or 5 hours of work. Yeah, at least. I don't know, I'm getting really fast and good at mixing, and the mumble voices. Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, my first EP is gonna be like world musics of various kinds. So I got a really chill one that's awesome. Um, it was in one of my videos, but most people probably haven't seen it. I love this one. This one's so beautiful. This one's like perfect. This one I mixed down. Like this one sounds incredible. Even like Seth Drake said, this like needs nothing. That it's just ready to go. And he, like I said, he's there's mixing and mastering engineer. Yeah, the Chanterelle trumpet by Wave Runner Audio. I got it for like $7 or something. I'm like, this is so cool. Um, dude, this fucking keyboard has been turning off. Like, I've had this keyboard for years. I fucking love this keyboard. I do not want it to die on me. Like, the keys are a little bit stiff, but it totally does the trick. Yeah, so that hat resonance, you really. Oh, thank you. That's a really beautiful one. Yeah, it's a really beautiful one. And I wrote it in like 4 hours or something. Like it took like no time, and then I really just mixed it down mostly from there. But yeah, those vocals were from Ross Sound, their Persian vocals library. So if they're Iranian, I guess is what you call them these days. But the IMPC. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was gonna point out the Chanterelle trumpet for this one kid, but oh, the quick load, you can make a custom menu in Contact, and it makes all the difference in the world because then you don't have to dig through all that stuff. So I just used the legato, but there's all these other sounds in there. I'll just do it with the keyboard. See, there we go. Yeah, so that's what I used for the trumpet. It was super inexpensive. Wave Runner Audio has some really nice stuff for cheap. They're a small company, but I really like the sound of it. I hear ya. See, here's the thing is like nowadays when I'm writing, I'm a really patient writer, and it turns out not to take that long when you get good at it. So like usually within 6 or 7 hours, not only am I done, I've actually done the articulations and like really done all like the fine sculpting. I've done a basic mix down mostly all along the way, like EQing, compression. Like I think about the stereo imaging from the get-go, like from like every sound I pick, I consider the mix down along the way. These days I haven't always done that. I really compose my mix is something I learned from my guru Ilgates. And yeah, I don't even know what to say. It's just like you can get so much done if you think about it holistically along the way. You don't need too many parts ultimately. Like, but I always make sure everything sounds good and everything is awesome every step along the way before I move on. Right. I guarantee like my kick is solid as fuck before I move on. That like this part, like I'll gather different parts. Like let me rephrase. I'll gather different instruments and I'll gather different samples, but I won't put down any MIDI or like I might record in a few sets of MIDI, but I won't like call it a part or anything until it's solid and tight. Right. So I might just like gather up some little bits super fast. But I usually won't put any notes down at all, but I might get like a bass chord progression, just chords. But then I won't make my parts until every single one of them is tight all along the way and good all along the way and usable. So I like don't have any homework later down the road where I have to go back and make it good, because that's going to happen anyway. Even if you don't, you'll have a little bit. So it's good to have just like a little bit. And so when you're like 5 hours deep and you've written everything you need and you've got an arrangement, the arrangement just works because everything's so tight already, and you can focus on transitional stuff. Except for I already do the transitional stuff too, usually, because I'll like start combining it in scenes all along here. Like finding combinations that work, organizing them in little scenes and stuff. And then I'll just record it in and play it in. And those scenes I'll add in transitional elements. And so I'll have my transitional elements written before I arrange on the backside as well. And so when I draw that in, then I'll like draw in like 8 minutes of music, slice it down to like 4 minutes of music or something. And it's just because everything's good along the way, because I've done the transitions, it's like by that point I'm effectively done, and it's like 5 to 7 hours into the process. And then I will do what my guru calls phase 3, which is you want to get it all to audio, but then you can chop it up and do audio manipulation techniques and stuff, which I did not do on this last track because this last track is so organic. It's not like really an EDM track per se. Let's find another one that doesn't suck. This is the best one in some ways. This one's fucking insane. This one's so loud it's stupid. This one's stupid how loud it is. Like you never need a track to be this loud ever. I don't even fight in the loudness war. I just did it this way because I wanted it to be like the universe is ending. So let me take off the warp in advance. Yeah, this one is, like I said, comically stupid loud. It sounds great. It feels punchy and spacious and all these things. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I did this mixing and mastering course with Seth Drake. It's going to be open to the public sometime in the next year. Right now, it's just open to Producer Dojo members. But it's going to be open to the public sometime in the next year. So you guys should get in on that when you can, because it'll change your whole life. But yeah, so I don't even I don't know. I mixed this down for that course. I would never have thought to do something so loud before. I used to think I need dynamics and stuff, but this sounds dynamic to me. Like those war drums sound, I don't know, it's something about them like slamming so hard against the ceiling of what's possible that makes them sound like larger than life or something, like the war drums in that drop or something. You know, the dynamic range there, it's like not a ton, right? It's not too bad, but it does at some point get down to like pretty fucking low, but it still sounds punchy. I don't know, it's weird. So yeah, the whole way I've gone about mixing, like I start in the red like the whole way. But yeah, I'm gonna drop these with the Producer Dojo, I think in April. The last several I've played for you. Oh, here's one that's in 7. This is another one I'm dropping in April. And this one also sounds really good. This one I mixed down properly. Oh, I've done so many tracks in the last several days. Where the fuck is 7? This one is actually in 7. It's in like 7/8 or 7/4, depending on how you think about it. I did it in 7/8. How am I releasing this stuff? So the Producer Dojo has like a quality control system that they have. So first I have to get it past Sean, who goes by Spiderhound, but I've basically done that. So they've got a spot for me in April. So I just have to make sure by mid-February that it's going to be like 4 tracks, but like everything is up to their standards, and then they'll put it out. Right. And it just means like having fucking awesome stuff. So then they have a whole marketing strategy as well, which is why I've sort of put off doing it myself, is because I don't want to have to market myself and deal with like the heartbreak of no one hearing my music and like all that stuff. I don't know. So, and also because I have stupidly high standards for myself. But yeah, so they have a whole marketing system, and we all buy each other's EPs and everything so that we actually get sales and we can like actually chart on Beatport and all that stuff. But I still need you guys' help, and I will give a free lesson to anybody who buys my EP. It's going to be like $6 or $7 or $9. I don't know. It's not going to be expensive. But if you can get it in like the first 3 days or something, right, I'll give you a free lesson. It'd be like an hour, but I'd probably go like 2 hours if I have time. And I'll teach you anything you want to know, all that stuff. I sort of make house music. Sometimes I write a song and it's house music. I won't play the whole thing, but this I wrote with my roommate, and it just happened to be like house.
Driving me crazy. I'm telling slow down. I can't keep up, love. Your heart is shrinking faster, and baby, there's no laughter coming out of your mouth, out of your soul, out of your soul.
Yeah, that one's like actually like super a work in progress. We wrote it super fast, just to write something, and then I like the mix wasn't too bad to begin with, and then just the mastering, it elevates such a good master that like it just sounds good. But I would do a lot to that too. This one's done. Yeah, this one I actually did release on a mixtape with the producer dojo. It's like 2 minutes long. The theme was movement. And why is this so quiet? What the fuck? That makes no sense. Interesting. I must have fucked that up, like the gain staging or something. And I have to bounce that again. That was probably like 6 decibels. 3 almost. Yeah, so interesting. Yeah, this one's rad though. But the theme was movement, so like nothing repeats. It's like super short. But yeah, nothing repeats. Nothing. It just goes. Yeah, that one's good. I actually spent a lot of time on that one. Like I spent like 20 hours getting the writing down or something like that. Like a really long time. I don't know why. Um, but yeah, just because so much different stuff happens in such a short period of time. You know? Damn, it's 4:30. Okay, I might call it a day unless it's last minute questions, last minute anything, and then I'm gonna call it a day because I gotta get some food in me and actually get more work done before this New Year's show. Yeah, there's at least one more track. I might try and live stream that track mix down, but um, yeah, it's pretty good. I actually haven't mixed down this one again, and I don't know if I really need to. It's tricky. Yeah, no, I gotta roll bounce myself. But yeah, it's tricky getting everything to sound good live, right? And also, it's just like I don't know, like all the things you can't hear that are problems will turn up in giant PAs. Yeah. Thank you for coming by. It's always good to have people who are interacting. It helps add a lot of um, sense of community to this channel, and it's why I got into this whole music game was to build community. So. Oh my God, that's so kind of you. That's so kind. Oh damn, that's super kind of you to say. Wow. Um, well, thank you. Yeah, seriously, I'm gonna need as many fans and as much support as possible as I get ready to release this music. I'm gonna start releasing singles every month or so, plus the EPs. So the EP is coming, I believe, April. I'll be announcing it and talking about it on this channel a bunch, but it won't be expensive. But these days, even every single sale counts so much because no one buys music anymore, right? So like I said, I'm going to give away free lessons and stuff to anybody who wants to have one for buying one of those. That will be super awesome, and it'll really help spread the good music, because I really believe that people need to put their hearts and souls into this stuff and really tell a story, creates worlds with sound, and I want to help people do that. And it starts by getting enough people who know that such things are possible and are on board with doing it, that they come here and we get this did, because it's just a matter of theory. It's a matter of psychoacoustics, like just a handful of tools, but like you can really make stuff that's not just sounds cool, not just fun to dance to, not just has a good energy, that actually move people and maybe make a difference in some people's lives. So anyways, I love you all, for reals. I don't just say that, I actually do. Even if we haven't met, I love you guys. Like I said, I got into this game to build community, and that's you. So thank you so much for being part of that and coming here. And I'm just going to keep doing this shit. If you have any questions, anything, either find me on a live stream or just drop a comment. Like, I typically try and respond to every comment and everything, or that asks a question at least, right? Yeah. No, I love doing it for sure. I love doing it. I love teaching. Like I love teaching, like I love music, right? So I can't. Oh, it's gotten dark. Hold on. I can't. Not teach, just like I can't not make music. So that there are people who want to learn from me is an honor, and that there are things that I can teach them, and that will make better music in the world, and make music that can make more of a difference in people's lives. Like that's, like I said, why I got into this game, and to be able to do that is a privilege. So thank you for providing that to me, sincerely. And happy holidays and all that stuff. And hopefully this is all useful. And if there's things you don't understand or things you want to learn, just ask, because I've been at this for quite a while, and I've been training with a lot of like really brilliant, talented people, and I've accumulated enough knowledge that I think I can do this sort of well at this point, and I want to pass that on. All right. So, all right, love you guys. I'm going to end this unless anyone says anything. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.